Welcome to The Way with your best era hosts, Ryan McKean and Brittany Green. The podcast where we dive deep into the world of legal business and marketing. So whether you're a lawyer, marketer, or business owner in the legal industry, this podcast is for you.
Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
It's going well, Brittany. How are you?
Can't complain. It's beautiful out after a not so great Memorial Day weekend, but the weather's nice again.
It is nice. You know, it's the last 2 weeks of May, which I really think are some of the best 2 weeks of weather that we get here in Connecticut. And I am fully enjoying the next, 5-ish months where I can work on my porch, hear nature, and, enjoy the comfort of the outdoors. And this is one of my favorite things about this house. I have a screened in porch, so I don't have bugs. I am not a big fan of bugs, even though Noah Khan is. You know what I found out? His his mom called them, his kids, bugs, his brothers and sisters.
Well, that's
So
cute.
that's why he's like the fourth child. He's the last
Yes.
of the bugs. I didn't know.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay. Now the
Yeah.
connection is even cuter. Okay, I love that. That's really cute.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am enjoying life, and welcome to episode whatever of the Way podcast. And I was watching our prior clips and going through and trying to pull some stuff, and it is way too much of me talking.
I mean, you're a man. What do we expect?
Ouch. Tough but fair. Tough but fair. But it is way too much of me talking. And I'm like, what if we do this episode? By the way, for our regular listeners, we come up with episodes like on the spot. We don't overthink them, because if we do, we end up wasting all of our good content and pre-planning it, and it's not as good. So a minute before we went on, Brittany's like, well, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the encyclical? Do you want to talk about Pilma? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I want to interview you. And she's like, well, what about my thoughts on what the Pope's? I'm like, no. I mean, maybe we'll get there. We don't know. But I was like, I want to interview Brittany because Brittany is like the brains behind Best Era. And really and truly, we started out here on my porch like 2 years ago, like right now, trying to figure out how to take a Stripe payment. And so I'm like, you know what? Why don't I interview Brittany and let her do most of the talking? How does that sound?
I will do my best to fill the silence.
We were on yesterday, we had an AMA with Rosanna Bernardi, which is fantastic, in our community on Kajabi, all about how she ends up on like Good Morning America and like why any lawyer could emulate what it is that she does. And I was like, she has internalized the lesson that I talk about on our team a lot, which is have all the confidence of an average white guy. And don't be afraid to ask, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. So Brittany, for this episode, I wish you all the confidence of an average white man.
I appreciate that. And, I like, speaking of that and also taking Rosanna's advice, one thing that she kept hammering into us, because of course, she's, it was mainly women that joined the AMA yesterday, which makes sense. Like, she's so aspiring to women out there and women leaders, women lawyers, women business owners. But I loved that she kept hammering in, stop worrying about, how you look or like being perfect on your videos, and just get out there. Like, no one cares at the end of the day if your hair's perfect or your makeup's perfect and things like that. And, Ryan, you messaged this morning, like, hey, I want to do a podcast today. And, my very first thought as a woman was, I sort of dressed down today. Like, I didn't wear anything super cute, and like my hair's up because I like got it done yesterday. And so it's like, second day hair and all this stuff. And immediately Rosanna popped in my head and her words from yesterday. And I'm like, you know what? No, it doesn't matter. Plus, it's a podcast. Most people aren't even watching us, from a video. They're listening in their car. So it doesn't even matter. My voice is podcast ready. It doesn't matter if my face is. And so yeah. So thank you, Rosanna. Your voice chimed in my head. And, when my first thought was, no, I need more time. I can't wait. No, never mind. She said, nope, you can do it. Progress is better than perfection, as we all always say, right? Like, just get it out, get the content out. So thank you, Rosanna.
So my first question to you with all that in mind is, this is the first business that I think you've been in on at the ground floor. When you joined us at Connecticut Trial Firm, we already had things in place. Like we had been not fully into what we were going to be, but we had established things and processes. So this is your first experience from going from zero, being a co-founder, and what, if anything, has surprised you about being a co founder of a company?
And well, I mean, I think first of all, I don't think I would have even had the confidence to say yes to something like doing this had I been possibly at any other stage in my life, like before this, right? Like if somehow I had been told to do when I was, being welcomed into the firm and getting hired from there, like I definitely would have said, no way, like I can't do this, or, that I have no experience. Like I certainly don't have the confidence of an average white man. Like there's no way, like this is something that I'm allowed to do. So I guess like the most surprising thing has been that like I can do it and that, I figured out obviously with the help of, my team members, but I've figured out how to solve everything that's happened so far, right? That's like come my way. So I think that's the most surprising thing is that, you know, w- when literally you're writing every blank page like of this journey because like every day is a new thing because there's no pre-written rules of how this business is run. I don't know if I would have believed myself, even a couple of years ago that I could do that. So I think, yeah, that's like the most surprising part is just every day being able to figure out, like, what am I doing today? Am I doing it right? Finding answers to new questions that I didn't know yesterday and just, yeah, being able to show up every day and do that.
So, what would you say, in co founding? Because a lot of our listeners are people maybe who have started their own law firm or are thinking about starting their own law firm. What would you say have been the biggest professional challenges for you in this? I know you hinted at some of that in your answer, but can you sort of elaborate on some of the challenges that you have faced professionally? And then I'm going to ask you, sort of personally, to the extent that you want to share, what have been the challenges in co-founding a company?
Yeah, I mean, because I was going to say, for sure, I think the biggest thing is absolutely like the mental mindset of it for sure. So, but we'll leave that for the other personal side, I guess. Yeah, I mean, professionally, again, I mean, I know I sort of touched on it already, but I truly think for me at least, the 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 biggest roadblock professionally, again, for me and in my stage of life and what I've done before, it was this, and I guess I'm leading into the mental roadblock of it maybe too a little bit here, of just not feeling like I deserved this stage of where I'm at, right? That, I didn't have enough the experience, right, yet to do something like this. And I think I'm sure a lot of lawyers feel that way that, they spend a couple of years out of law school at, big law or, someone else's more corporate firm or just a bigger law firm in general. And they know like something's not right. Like they know there's something more out there for them and they want to do more and they just, they think they could maybe do something great on their own, but they're probably in the same stage that I feel like I was still at, which was like, well, but who am I to do that? Because I don't have the experience yet. I'm not deserving of doing this whole thing. And also like, especially for me with our business, like, are people going to listen to my expertise, right? Like, because I am consulting people on these things that, we claim to have great expertise on. And there's definitely that part of me that is always concerned that, I'm not going to be taken seriously enough. I'm sure again, there's multiple factors of that of not just, how long I've been in the game sort of thing, but also, being a woman and all that sort of stuff plays into it. I'm not a lawyer, right? I am just a marketer. So who am I to tell lawyers, right, what to do and how to help run their business? So I sort of went off on all tangents, but professionally, I'd say like the biggest thing is just not feeling like I've achieved enough professionally to be allowed to do this. I was going to say if that makes sense, but I shouldn't say that because I'm allowed to just end it there.
You are allowed to end there. And, for the listeners, like I'm going to narrate this. I'm happy to show you what Brittany accomplished at Connecticut Trial Firm and what she built and the objective results that she achieved. From my perspective, hearing this, like that is a personal thing and is not reflective of her professional acumen or expertise. Certainly, I think you kind of answered both sort of personal and professional. And I'm going to ask you, how has it been working with lawyers?
Yeah, it's funny. I had absolutely zero background with lawyers or legal before working at the, your firm. So I had, only my stereotypes in my mind to draw off of, right? Of lawyers are old white guys who are, probably maybe rude, standoffish, are gonna, boss around the paralegals and things like that. Only care about money. All the stereotypes were definitely in my head. And then, of course, going into it almost immediately. And I'm sure, so grateful, of course, that your firm, you and Allison, of course, like at the helm of your firm, culture was, at the forefront, right? And so it made it very clear from, I guess not even from day one, right? Even just from you interviewing me, it was clear you as a lawyer weren't like that. Allison as a lawyer and business operator wasn't like that. And as soon as walking into the firm, it was clear that no one was like that. And the more lawyers I got to know and met, the more all of those illusions were shattered, all of those stereotypes were shattered, and overwhelmingly it became like lawyers are, some of the best people that I can think. So many of you truly do go into this profession with, the best intentions, all, justice at the forefront, wanting to help people. And you're just regular people. But also, I also learned, coming from a background of, again, I started out in a way different life of teaching kindergartners. I also learned that hurting lawyers is a lot like hurting kindergartners. So I was definitely able to use some of my past life experiences in other ways here.
So you do a lot of consulting with marketing with lawyers. What do you see being the biggest challenge, like sort of across the board, that lawyers face in understanding marketing?
Yeah, there's a couple things. I mean, I think the biggest thing, well, I guess it depends on the lawyer that I meet, but some of the biggest like pitfalls that I see happen are the ones that don't understand that marketing means helping them do their goal of providing access to justice to people, right? They see marketing as this like icky, bad word, right? As sales, and they don't want to be perceived as salespeople and they don't want to be perceived as like slimy, right? And so they forget that marketing actually just means that they are able to provide this service that they, went to school for, paid a lot of money to be able to do for other people. Like marketing is the entry point into getting to do that for everybody. So I think a lot of lawyers forget that about that step and that step exists for a reason, and it's really the only way to be known. And I think they overcomplicate marketing a lot, right? Like a lot of lawyers, yeah, see it as a scary thing. They think they don't understand it, which makes sense, right? Because probably from the get-go they get solicited from SEO companies and like predatory paid advertising companies who are telling them like, this is way over your head, all this stuff. Like, you don't get it. You won't understand it. Just like pay us and let us like feed you clients. And they say, yeah, I don't know what, all these acronyms mean. And I don't know how to set up a campaign on Google. So they like equate all of that stuff to marketing when really, right? Like things we always talk about, marketing is literally the most simple, basic thing of just getting people to know, like, and trust you. And so many lawyers are actually great at that, right? There's a reason a lot of lawyers out there are great lawyers because they have to spend all day in court getting a jury to know, like, and trust them and help believe their client. So I think a lot of lawyers, like I said, overcomplicate marketing and don't understand that the foundation is just so simple and that a lot of the things they do in their day to day is marketing. We just have to like point it out to them and make it so that that stuff that they're already doing is, more systematic and more profitable for them and that they're actually getting like a real return from it.
Yeah, no, it is one of the things too that strikes me, which is, lawyers jump to tactics with marketing and they jump to social media ads or, ads on ChatGPT or ads on YouTube or billboards or whatever, but they don't understand the fundamentals. And without getting the foundation right, they struggle with the tactics. It's a very hard thing for lawyers who are sort of trained to jump to solutions to spend more time on the problem and even on a bigger way, like a bigger picture kind of sense.
Well, and like the other pitfall that I see is lawyers are really great lawyers for a reason, right? And it's because they understand that they need to have the perfect argument to win, right? And they need to create and write the perfect briefs and cite every source and all of that stuff. And that's great. Like that's what makes them, win in court. And they're like not supposed to fail, right? Like there's no failure when it comes to being a lawyer, or else you're hurting your clients potentially, you're not going to be advancing your career. So I get that like sort of cutthroat feeling as a lawyer, but with marketing, it's not all cut and dry. And failure is like literally the whole point of marketing, right? Our friend Jason Hennessy has always said, like, I have 25, 28 ideas like at a time, and I know only two of them are going to actually have any sort of success rate. And I have to be okay with that the majority of my ideas are going to fail. And that's marketing. And also, you know, shipping things like I said at the beginning there, it's okay that my hair is not perfect and my makeup's not perfect. Like it's better that I'm just getting the content out and consistently doing something, even though it's not perfect. And that's really scary to lawyers, is knowing that a whole big chunk of marketing is just like putting stuff out there that maybe isn't perfect. That's really scary. And I get it. I totally get it. But yeah, that's for sure one of the largest, problems that I see and I come across.
So, what are some of the characteristics of some of the most successful lawyers that I mean, we work with some amazing lawyers all over this country who do some amazing things. What would you say separates them? And I'm talking like the top 1% of achievers from everybody else.
I mean, you say all the time, and you obviously have it, like just having that bias for action, right? So many lawyers we see have that like analysis paralysis happen. And listen, not to say that you can't, you know, fall into success with these, sort of hiccups. That's certainly happens. But, a lot of times I see people with these issues and they're like thriving in spite of themselves versus the ones who are just outright thriving are the ones that have that bias for action who, again, I know I'm reiterating, but are okay with things not being perfect as long as they are actually, putting it out there. The other thing that I think is interesting is I think, and this is like a sort of weird little random one, but and it's okay if you're not technically this, right? Because for example, I technically on the, personality traits or whatever, I test extrovert, although it's like just over the line. But I feel like introverts actually can be like way more successful than extroverts in a lot of ways. And I think it's because they're just they can, and this is not, like I said, this is not to say anything negative about people who would consider themselves extroverted, but I just think introverts are just so good at self-reflecting, right? And self-correcting. Um, and being intentional about their relationships, which obviously are so important in the business world, and understanding, how to succeed, how to treat clients, right? How to treat their people. So I think it's probably a underrated trait. But I don't know, I just when I think about in my head some of my, you know, favorite lawyers out there who are doing great work, yeah, whose businesses are thriving, I'd rate them more on an introverted scale, technically. Um, I didn't plan on my answer going there, but I'm sticking with that.
Yeah, there you go. And, last night I was texting with a lawyer and their leads were down and we were helping them market and, and the response was like, well, I don't know. What if? I don't know. What if? And I'm like, the name of the game is, to have an idea, to ship, to get feedback and to iterate. And
Mhm.
the cost of this idea was nothing. Like it was virtually nothing. Like this was not some big ad campaign. So I'm like, you're not really risking anything. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work or you don't get what you want, you can stop doing it or you can say no. But like, let's give this a shot. And sort of
Exactly.
like to that end, like when we began Best Era, like we didn't know what would work. So what surprised you both that things that have really worked and things that we thought would work or you thought would work and we just never got traction on for one reason or another.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I think we probably both feel this way that one of the biggest things that has been such a success for us, such a driver for us for other things, has been our, Slack community of now we've reached over 400 lawyers that are in there, right? And that was literally the first thing we launched. Certainly, likely not our, our first idea, obviously, as we were, figuring out what Best Air was going to look like, but it was a moment of us realizing like, okay, we need, an audience, we need to make some money, to have something in the bank, until we, start getting people to trust us enough to consult on a higher level. But, so asking people to, join a Slack community and, talk to strangers online, especially busy lawyers, right? Certainly, we thought like, okay, Ryan has a good network of people, like he's, made a lot of friends in the industry. We figured like, okay, we'll probably get like 15, maybe 20 people who, you know, feel sorry for us, want to make sure that we like, are being supportive. It's like liking our stuff on Facebook. We at least were smart enough to make it, a very easy entry point price that like, you know, you'd feel bad saying no to us maybe. But that one for sure was, I think, the first moment though, when we like launched day one of like, hey, join our Slack, it's $1 a day, all that stuff. And we're posting it on our LinkedIn's and everything. And that was for sure the first day where I was like, okay, I think we might have something, because all of a sudden we're like, our Stripe account that we had just set up like that week, because yeah, we didn't know how to take payments and realized we needed to figure out how to do it. And all of a sudden our Stripe accounts, the notifications are going boop, 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 as all of a sudden it was like day one and all of a sudden we have like 50 people join our community. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe people really are interested in who we are and what we do and what we may be able to offer them. So that was really, really a great feeling and our first great success. But yeah, and then, it's been interesting because some of the other things, like we really thought at the time when we were launching it, like our online courses and things like that would take off way more. And we, tried a couple different iterations of it, of like live cohorts and just, static things like that. And, we certainly got people interested in it, and we did have people taking the courses and things like that. But think, I think we sort of quickly realized that, and always certainly still have them and they're offered. I think we realized that sort of the era, no pun intended, of online courses had sort of petered out by the time we were sort of getting around to it. I think they were a bigger, sort of rave earlier on, and it seemed like everyone was putting out a course on something. So we sort of jumped on the bandwagon there. It made sense. But yeah, so that one I think was one of our things where we're like, it certainly wasn't a failure. It wasn't like our best thing, but so that one was interesting. And then we had some random ones, right? Like I spent like months trying to get like fun flashcards made up, and realizing like, oh, there's this whole cost associated with production and shipping and storing them in a warehouse, and like you know who knows if people would even buy these physical things. We don't know. I mean, maybe people would. It's all about timing, obviously, and what resources we have at the time. But yeah, but The one thing that's been interesting, I think, is that what's really been helpful is even through all the highs and lows of like the good and the bad ideas is I've noticed we really have stuck well to like our vision and values that we sort of set out with, right? Because even whether an idea ended up being, successful or not as successful, they've all been in line with the reason we chose to at least try to execute them was because of right our vision and values, which were to help a certain amount of lawyers, which we knew we couldn't do individually. So we at least were trying to do things that made sense for our business at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, and to sort of, shift with that, like, so when we were at the firm, our marketing budget when we left was $100,000 a year. We were on TV, we were
No,
billboards, radio.
$100,000 a month.
100,000 a month. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Good catch. Yeah, no.
good catch.
A
We
hundred
don't
a
want
hundred
people out
thousand
there.
100,000 a month. And so we had media buyers and top level SEO, and we had a whole host of things going on, right? And I was thinking about this, like, our marketing budget when we started Vestera was like 0 on a
Exactly.
monthly basis. And if I had to think about it, we probably spend, if I amortized it across the year, including things like, booths and things like that, that we do a little bit of and sponsorships, we're probably spending about $5,000 a month, which is in fact probably too little. But it aligns, I think, with a situation that a number of our clients face, which is they are looking to grow market share. They are looking to not they don't have the budget or the operation to support that $100,000 a month or more investment. What is it that you have learned from marketing, I would say, going up and down the ladder? I mean, because when you started Connecticut Trial Firm, like, you were our marketing budget. We
Right.
didn't have that kind of money then either. And so what have you learned going up and down in terms that's made you a better marketer, and what things have we done as Bastera with low budget that have really worked for our marketing?
Yeah. I mean, right. Up and down the line, like again, the sort of core principles and values of marketing don't change, right? And it's just and like, I think yeah, there's a fallacy of like, well, the people that have all of this money to put into their marketing have it so easy and it's like they don't have any easier of a time truly getting clients, right? It's just sure they're solving their marketing problem with just pumping more money into the problem, but then they get sort of trapped in that, right? Like they can't ever go backwards, at least to an extent, right? Like if when once you're starting to put in a ton of money into the sort of traditional routes of billboard TV, you it's pretty hard to sort of pull backwards on that. Whereas, like it almost well, yes, you had to trade a lot more time for money when are smaller. You have smaller marketing budgets. It's almost easier to sort of control your market if that makes sense. And you can be a lot more sort of deliberate, whereas it sometimes it feels like when you're starting to just pump a ton of money in, it gets a little more like shooting fish in a barrel, if that makes sense. And you sort of have to weed out the good stuff. Sure, you can target and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it actually means it's a lot harder to almost find your exact target market when you're throwing a lot of money in, right? Does that make
Right.
sense to you?
It makes sense
Yeah.
because I always think of it as, look, when you first start at a law firm, like, your aunt hires you, and she's
Right.
she's like the warmest audience. So you shouldn't have to like spend
Yeah.
money to acquire your aunt as a client. If you do, you might want to reflect on that a little bit, but you
Yeah.
don't really have to, right? And
Right.
so like there's just this whole notion to me of like you go from a warm audience, a hot
Right.
audience, to a warm
Yes.
audience. These are people, maybe now
Yes.
it's like your aunt's friend, okay? And then you go to people your aunt doesn't know, right? And so
Mhm.
like that's the most expensive buy because you're trying to get people to know, like, and trust you who have none of those connections to you. And I
Exactly.
think for me at Best Era, it has been one, when we don't have like Jason says, when you don't have money, you have time. And so we've
Hmm.
spent time into doing podcasts. And in fact, we have spent a ton of time in our community giving away advice that I'm sure other people would charge money for. Like, I don't know that people out there understand it, but like we are there answering questions that people have. And I think it's adding value. I think it's consistency in showing up on social media. I think it's building deliberately an email list and seeking to add value that way. And I also think it's the sort of unscalable things and sort of like, what do I mean by that, right? It's taking the phone call, then it's having the lunch, and then it's they hire you 9 months later,
Hmm.
and it's making time for those relationships. And I think, that has been incredibly effective marketing. We've gotten significant returns off of our spend. And honestly, some of our higher spend stuff has not translated to business. We've spent a good amount of money on our website and SEO, and that hasn't organically brought in leads. Like that has not been a thing for us. We've spent money at conferences, sponsoring things that have not brought in leads for us or money for us. So I think, my 2 cents here, and I know I'm doing the talking, even though I should be interviewing you, is that, don't be afraid to play small, to show up consistently, to listen, and to connect.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, to add on to that quickly, as we grew our budget at the firm and we're playing in all the big ponds, we never stopped doing the small stuff, right? And like I think that's the important thing too is that, with your marketing, y- again, if when you're sort of seeing the Instagram versus reality of like the big firms out there that are on the billboards and the TV, if they're truly the good ones that got to that level, for a good reason, they're also still doing the small stuff. They're also still doing the community stuff. They're also still going to the one-on-one coffees and lunches with referral sources. So they've just gotten now to a level where they do get to also play in the big ponds with these other new, more expensive channels, but don't ever think that you get to like graduate to that and then you can stop with the coffees. Like that's where you're going to shoot yourself in the foot if that's your belief in how marketing should work. Again, it's always going to be important to keep doing the small stuff just as much. Now sure, like you said, you time wise you may be spending less time on it, but there should still be some dedication to it. And maybe it's hiring you are finally at this stage where you get to hire like full business development person for your firm, right? And that person gets to be the one spending their time doing the small stuff. That's fine, but just don't ever take it out of your marketing budget or your marketing plan, because yeah, at the end of the day, the hot and the warm leads are going to be your biggest return. They're going to end up being your best cases and clients and things like that. So, and they're what get you the money and opportunity to be playing in those bigger ponds.
So, to shift a little bit of a different direction, I'm going to put you in the visionary seat as a co founder. Where will Best Era be in 5 years, and what will Best Era be most known for?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, when we sat down, and in the very beginning and we had literally zero and but we still were like, well, we still need to do our vision. I still think it's true. Like, I still think, I see us impacting, I forget the exact number, but something like, what did we say? Like 25,000 lawyers in 10 years, right? So,
We said
you know,
30 in 10
or
years and
30 in 10 years. That's what
15
it
in
was.
5. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I do see that as being true. I want to do that. I mean, I think we've already seen like good success in how widespread we can do that sort of thing with all of the things we do now, our podcast, right, our social media. We reach millions of people now with our social media alone. So I mean, I guess depending on what metric we really want to count, right, it's like how we're reaching these lawyers. But the conferences we've put on already have been incredible. It's a little insane to think that, yeah, a company that was, you know, a day old, we were already saying, like, we want to have a conference before the end of the year, things like that. And we did it, and we got real people in real seats, right, who were interested, and we gave that value. So I foresee us doing a lot more things like that. We both agreed we didn't want to like manage a huge team. I still see that being true. I think we're gonna just continue to thrive and as a small team and just continue to find ways to be at the forefront of sort of everything, of every trend, of every era. And I love that we get to sort of guide and shepherd other lawyers into each new forefront of like what's coming, right? For the law and for business. And I just see us continuing to do that. In what specific ways? Not sure yet, but I think that will always be the sort of crux of who Vestera is, which is just like finding what's new and what's next and helping to educate other lawyers on what that is and how to do it in their firms.
Yeah, no, and one of my big concerns in doing this was that I would lose touch or we would lose touch. Like, right, we all come from a firm, we all did the jobs that we teach. And in reality, it's like I have learned so much over the past 2 years through working with other firms, through conversations, through our Slack community, through listening to our AMAs with people, to, having conversations and dinners with people at conferences that I feel like at least I am better at my job
Yes.
now than I was 2 years ago, and I have to assume that I will be even better then.
Yes.
We're gonna wrap it up. I've got 2 more. Well, this one's like a sub part, okay? So, I'm gonna ask you about best era team members, and things that people may not know about what it's like to work with all of your team members. So, we'll start with Marissa.
Okay. What is it like working with Marissa that people may not know? Gosh, there's so much. I feel like we're doing our annual like trust exercise here. When we do our best Terra annuals, gosh, what can I say about Marissa? I mean, Wu Tang. Oh, is it Wu Tang Wednesday or is it Thursday? I've lost track of what day
It's
it is actually.
Wednesday. It's
It's
Woo
Wednesday. It is Wu
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay, so Wu Wednesday, first of all, from Marissa. She loves what she does so fiercely and her work with paralegals and just being a paralegal in general. You can just tell the passion she has for it. And she's again, I think this goes back to I'd say she probably tests on the introverted scale, probably technically more introverted, even though she's, a joy and more than happy to make conversation with people. But because of that, she reads people so well when she's training other paralegals that she's really, really amazing at, again, sort of reading the room of them and understanding what they are or aren't understanding themselves so that she can redirect and make sure that, she's not going too fast, that people are absorbing the material. So yeah, she's just a really great teacher. And for someone who obviously that was never like destiny that was necessarily like set out for her from the get-go. Yeah, she's just awesome at that. And I you can see the passion in her for it.
Right? Allison.
Allison, she's the best. I don't know that we would actually have Vestera like the way it is now without Allison. So yeah, she's gonna make me tear up. I love her so much. Yeah. Why'd you ask me this one? I'm gonna get emotional. No, all I'm gonna say is Allison is the only reason we exist, truly. Um, every single one of our clients is so lucky to experience her. That's all I'm gonna say because I gotta stop.
All right, you can have fun with me. No
Yeah,
crying.
no, definitely no
What's
crying. No, I mean, I don't know. What isn't there though to know about you? I feel like everyone just so gets the genuine version of you. Not that obviously people get the genuine version of Alice and Marissa too, but they're again because they're both definitely I think more on the obvious like introverted scale. They take longer for people to get to see the real them. They take a little longer to not warm up, but to just feel, comfortable with expressing them true selves, their true selves. But yeah, you, even though I'd say probably you're like the extrovert and introvert right here, where like you're really great with everybody, but it definitely wears on you. But no, I mean, yeah. So I don't know. There's not really anything that people don't know. I'll just stop there. There's not anything. You're just you. You yeah, you give too much. You give too much away. Right? Yeah, don't get him started to talk about anything because then, especially in the Slack or like if you're texting and stuff, because he's the kind of person that can't just like Allison, like you two are so separate, right? Allison will take like 5 minutes to write a Slack because she wants to make sure that like what she says is correct and like thought out and like well said and all just one thought at once. And then meanwhile, I'm like when Ryan Slacks something, I know just to like keep Slack open because he's gonna send like 5 more follow-up things that are just like his brain going like ding 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 ding, and then finally he'll like have all of his thoughts out. And then I need to like make sure that I can translate it all into one coherent thought. It's gotten even worse with ever since that whisper flow because it's just like unfiltered, right straight from the mouth. But yeah, so no, I mean, right. Anyone who's ever like spent any amount of time with Ryan knows that like he is who he is, and there are no surprises with him. He's exactly what you see is what you get.
All right, so we're gonna go way lighthearted. One of the things that we have had the, I think, great gift of is I was looking at a map of the U.S. as I was flying last week, and I was like, we've been to a lot of places.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I've been to Texas twice in 2026. Like we've been to a lot of different cities, a lot of places. We've been all over this country. You know, this year, like I'll do all four corners. I'll be like in Boston,
Oh yeah.
Seattle, San Diego, Miami, right? Like, and
Yeah, you're right.
some
Yeah,
of us will even be in Omaha of all places.
I know.
So
Smack dab in the middle there.
So, okay, what has been, and look, we oftentimes only get a brief flavor of any place we go, and we try
Mhm.
to experience like whatever it is that we can when we're in the place that the place is known for. Like Cincinnati, we had this awful chili, but we had it. But what has been the favorite place that you've been, and what place has surprised you the most?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see. I think I'm gonna have to say Seattle. I think was a favorite. Again, maybe biased because we did have the opportunity to spend a little more sort of time there outside of just work. But I mean, there's just so many cool things about Seattle. They've got the cool grunge scene, the fish, going to, Pike's Place and the fish market. I had the oyster shot at like 7 a.m. Oh, whatever it was. That was fun. The people there are just so nice. And I don't know, that sort of Pacific Northwest way of life. Just I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So that one is probably a favorite of mine. And we've been lucky enough to go twice now with visiting the client that's up there. So that's been awesome. So that's been great. I'd say two special honorable mention to Salt Lake City. I mean, I've been there the most now and, between best era stuff, but even also from the firm, we spent so much time there. So I've learned to just really sort of love the people out there and their way of living and their culture and our cowboy boots, that we've acquired out there. So just love all that. And then one was surprising. Let's see. I'm gotta like, yeah, think back into all of my memories. They all sometimes like some of these have been such like whirlwind of trips that like you sort of black out and forget that we've been there. But gosh. Gosh. Let's see. A surprising one. I don't know. Man, I don't know. I don't know if there's one that was like something I didn't expect. Is there
I'll throw you my
you
surprise. I'll throw you
yeah,
my
what's your
surprise one.
surprise one?
Hamilton, Ohio.
Well, see, I was gonna kind of say that one. So I will say, like Hamilton, very much reminded me of my like Midwest family from Michigan, not super far removed. But yeah, I mean, I guess I was surprised by how cute that little town was,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
how
like a
much how much it reminded me of that.
cute Main Street, old mill,
Yeah,
river, like old architecture, like Greek architecture. Like I was, not that I had much expectations, but
expectations
I'm going to say
exactly.
Hamilton. Hamilton was my surprise,
I agree.
and my favorite. As much as this is not a knock on Seattle because I love Seattle and going out there and Easy Street Records and Mount Rainier. We had gorgeous views of like amazing, amazing, amazing city. My favorite has been Charleston, South Carolina, where we are hosting AI Era
True.
2.0.
True. I forgot about that. I didn't yeah, I
It's
wasn't
okay.
considering that because I hadn't we didn't go there for like a client technically. Yeah, it was our own sort of planned place on the map. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't. Yeah, you really can't beat Charleston for sure. One other honorable mention for me, and I sort of d- discount this one because like I've certainly been there before any of this, but P-Town, Provincetown,
Oh, yeah.
Cape Cod, just such a sweet, lovely little place to be. So fun, so colorful and exciting, and again, the best, nicest people up there, and super grateful that that was our very like first
Yes, it
best
was.
era road trip, right? So certainly holds a nice place in our heart, I think.
I think if we do this interview next year, we're probably both going to say Bologna with our Italian era, but
Probably,
we'll see. We'll see. We'll keep an open
yeah.
mind to all other places. And if you are out there and thinking of us having us out to be with you, we love to travel to meet you and to spend
Well,
time
and
in your space.
for you, Puerto Rico's on the mix this year too, right?
No, I negotiated us all going down to Puerto
We all
Rico.
okay, okay.
Yes. No, no,
As
no,
long
no,
as
no,
as
no.
long as some of us in there, but so that's on
No.
the mix too. So I'm excited for
Yes.
that too.
I negotiated that. So
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
I said, no, no, this is a package deal. We are all coming down to San Juan in December to do an annual retreat because
Amazing.
December here is dark and gloomy and cold.
Yes.
So there you
Yeah.
go. All right. So we're going to end this up with one last question on this. Hopefully, the AI picks less clips of me version of the way and more of
I know,
Brittany, who
see, that's the other thing. Well, yes, yes, technically I think you do spend more time talking on most of our episodes. I think Riverside is just sexist and they automatically clip out like the things you say more often than
I,
I do.
it very well could be. It could be
Yeah.
sexist, or it could just be that
Yeah.
I'm so damn insightful, Brittany. So I don't know. I don't know. No,
I don't know.
but
I think
anyhow,
I think
hopefully
Riverside's just like everyone else and they're like, "She said that thing, but he said it a little louder."
I definitely am louder than Brittany. So all right. So
Sorry
Brittany,
to interrupt.
what is it that you are listening to, watching, reading, enjoying?
Let's see. Well, actually, so speaking of AI, and I've been trying my best to not only listen to our number one artist recently, and Spotify just started like really rolling out like these AI, figure out a playlist like using AI, and I tried and it just sucked. So I don't know. Maybe it'll get better, but not a fan of the like AI Spotify playlist making. Sometimes it get, all things nostalgia coming back. You just got to go old school and like make those playlists, right? Even if it is on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever. But all that's to say, I've been trying to like go back into my music catalog of like songs on Spotify and like rediscover other things. So I've like been a hodgepodge of Florence and the Machine and, obviously Taylor's always still in the mix, but old Taylor and, old country artists that I like haven't listened to in a long time, Casey Musgraves, Mary Morris. So yeah, anyways, I've been trying to rediscover some old artists that I haven't listened to in a while. Wait, I can't hear you, Ryan.
My advice is go to your local record store and ask
Yes.
the person behind the counter make some recommendations to discover some new music. And record stores commonly have record players there with headphones so you can listen before you buy and experience a truly analog listening experience if you're looking to discover new artists. I don't think vinyl's the best medium to discover new artists because you're stuck owning something, but your local record store person, if they know your taste, should be able to make some cool recommendations of albums or artists that you have not considered. So I'm going to say go to your local record store. And, for me, I had the really good fortune on Saturday or Sunday, I don't know, it all blurs together, of going to Paisley Park, home of Prince in
Yeah.
Chanhassen, Minnesota. And I'm a big Prince fan. I'm wearing my Peace, Love, and Para Era, which is are ripoff of Peace and Love and Purple Rain shirts that they sell in the Prince store in
Don't
Minneapolis
sue us.
airport.
Don't sue us,
Don't sue
Prince
us.
family.
I think it's different enough. There's no real
Yeah.
likelihood of
Yeah.
confusion a state of Prince. And so I'm a big Prince fan. I go to Paisley Park. I've always wanted to go. Just an amazing, amazing tour to be in, the studio where Prince records so much amazing music. I mean, the guy built an amazing studio. So it's all this cherry wood because it's soft and it absorbs all the sound. But then he had granite rooms. So if he wanted like feedback on something, like he could get reverb in those rooms. He had like a dance studio where they
Oh,
would
cool.
rehearse numbers. He actually put a basketball hoop up. And then he had sound stages where he would play concerts. So literally, like he was like he played like a 3-hour show once for just Madonna in this like massive stage. When the Minnesota Lynx won, he was a big basketball fan. The Lynx won the WNBA title in 2014. He sent limos to get the Lynx. They come back to his place and he's playing a 3-hour show for the Lynx, and he
Gosh.
then feeds them pancakes because Prince loves pancakes. So the whole thing was absolutely remarkable, totally amazing tour to be inspired by somebody who's so creative. So I have been back and listening to Prince. I texted a friend, and for the Prince fans out there, I texted a fellow fan, and I said the directions, like, to Paisley Park. And the friend texts back, "No need for directions. It's in your heart." So Prince has a
Oh,
song, is "Paisley Park is in your heart." Anyhow, so it was
love
it
it.
was incredibly an incredibly fun experience, and I have been enjoying going back through the Prince catalog, which is a departure from our usual Vermont friend, but
Yes.
a
Yes.
welcome
Although
departure.
we have been turning people on to listening to it. I was just talking to one of our clients yesterday, and he was like, "I've been catching up on your old podcast episodes, so now I need to listen to this guy."
Was
And
this the
it's
one
always
with
so
the same name as me?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because this person
Totally.
was texting me, and yeah, yeah. So we are spreading the gospel of Noah Khan.
Exactly.
I really do think The Great Divide is just one of the best
It's
albums
amazing.
I've heard in a very long time.
Yeah.
I'm I'm
No, it's
I'm
very good.
really like this. We can end here. We're way adrift, and I'm doing too
I
much
know.
talking. But I want to know where you are on this album because there's been so many songs that have hit me, but
At different yeah,
right now, so I'm looking at the Last of the Bugs edition,
I gotta
and I love the three songs: All Them Horses, A Few of Your
mhm,
Own, and
mhm.
Orbiter.
Orbiter, okay, that's a deeper cut. Okay, let me think here. So the top one that's still been coming to mind, like when I think of the album, and if someone's gonna say like, off the top of my head, real quick, Haircut is still like a top one for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's just I love the combination of a song with I love a song that has a deep, like deep layers to it, right? Of like what it's talking about and like really sort of punchy lyrics that are just like, you know, they make your brain like think like poetry, you know what I mean? Like they make your
Yeah.
brain think like, oh, what is he actually talking? And like those words flow really nicely together. But also like where I'm kind of like bopping along to it, So like even though it's like a slightly sad, depressing song, I'm still like, I want to dance, and I want to stomp and holler to it. So, anyways, that and similarly, I feel like a few of your own does that for me too. So that one's definitely a top one too. Yeah, I mean, All Them Horses, go American Cars, I think actually has been now making its way back. That wasn't like necessarily a top one, but now it is. So I think if you had to today, it'll probably change tomorrow, but if you had to make me nail it down today, Haircut, A Few of Your Own, and American Cars.
Yeah, I love American Cars. I love Tom Petty, and that just
Yes.
that's one of these songs too. Like I can't wait to see him in concert play. Like I don't
Yes.
know if I'm as
Yes.
excited about Orbiter in concert, but like
Right.
American Cars, like when he hits that, I'm gonna be like, okay, this is a lot of fun and fantastic. And I also think
Exactly.
maybe the saddest song on the album,
Right. Well, that's what
which
I mean. It's like I love a sad song that still makes you wanna, like, move, like and I mean, that's obviously, again, I know I always bring it back to her, but like that's what I love that Taylor can do a very similar thing. Like, yes, she has her sad, slow songs just like Noah does, that you just, you know, are what are they are. But yeah, then there's ones where it's like the themes are actually deep and can be like soul crushing, but you're also like, but I want to dance. So like, which I just think is the perfect mixture because yeah, I mean, that's what life's all about, right? Like wanting to still be happy and dance even when you're like really sad and going through shitty things.
That's a great way to end it. And thank you for playing along and being interviewed. And listen to Brittany, contact Brittany if you are looking to grow your firm in a way that makes sense. We don't sell marketing, but we consult on marketing. Like, so we're not selling PPC campaigns or things like that, but actual ways to drive business with your budget, whether it's low or high, and what buttons to push. We are happy to help push them with you.
So
So,
happy. Yep.
so
All
till
right. We'll
next
see you
time,
next
Brittany.
time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Way with Best Era. Be sure to visit our website. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Until next time, keep striving for your version of success.